In today's video, we're going to be ranking producer side hustles and money-making methods in a tier list. All of these are methods that I've used to make money as a music producer over the years, and I'm going to be making up with what I don't know and the methods that I haven't done personally through what I know through people I'm connected with who do those things regularly. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with selling beats. This is probably the thing I'm the most familiar with out of all these things. Like, I've done it the most out of them. I've made the most money doing this. And to me, selling beats is S tier for sure. Like, the crazy thing about selling beats online is that literally anybody can stumble upon your beats and find you and want to work with you as a producer. There's plenty of examples of A-list rappers like Drake and J. Cole who find beats on YouTube and reach out to the producers that way. And it's just by those producers posting their beats online as type beats. YouTube is easily the biggest platform that you can gain the most exposure, but the negative thing about that is it's also the most saturated and competitive. It's not a perfect method for sure, but you shouldn't let the high competition deter you from posting your beats online. It might seem nowadays that the golden years of selling type beats is behind us, but there's plenty of room for producers to still blow up posting type beats, and there's still plenty of hardworking and talented guys coming up that way. Like, the best thing you can do when it comes to selling beats is creating your own wave for sure and having your own unique sound. Either that or being very early on to like a new wave or sound and writing that and going off of that momentum. The next method we're going to talk about is sync licensing. I personally have no experience in sync, but I work closely with Nathan, who's head of sync over here at Heat, along with Robin, who's also done some sync stuff in his career too. And from what I know of all that, then sync is easily going to be an S tier as well. Sync is similar to selling beats to where the earning potential is like almost unlimited if you put the work in, but the clients you work with and the ways that you get paid is different compared to selling beats online. The good things when you're working with brands for sync placements is they tend to have a bigger budget compared to like rappers buying beats online. Just how rappers are always needing new beats, so are television shows. There's like tons of reality TV out there that's being made where they're just cranking out episodes, and all those episodes need original music. And it creates a huge market for producers to come into this space and start serving that demand and potentially make a lot of money. Next up, we got sound kits, and this is something I'm also really familiar with. I have my own kit selling website, and I also work with the Heat agency and work with big clients like Kavi and Hologram, Producer Grind, like all these producers that sell plenty of sound kits. And sound kits is definitely A tier for sure. Selling sound kits and sample packs and drums and all that isn't anything new, but I think a lot of producers nowadays are getting more hip to the fact that that marketplace is a lot less saturated than, the beat selling marketplace or the YouTube type game. It's been a trendy method for producers to make money with, kind of similar to sync in the last few years. However, compared to like selling beats, it has a much higher learning curve. You basically have to learn a whole bunch of brand new skill sets. That includes learning about e-commerce, web design, branding, consumer psychology, marketing, tons of different things. The list goes on. That means you gotta wear a lot more hats as a producer if you're gonna be making and marketing these sound kits. But trust me, the revenue is well worth it if you can carve a unique lane in this niche. I think also right now is a really good time to get into selling sound kits. Like, I wasn't around back in like the golden age of selling beats, but it kind of feels like we've been in the golden age of sample packs. We've been seeing the evolution of sound kits go from like simple drum kits with like 50 sounds to like these huge multi-kits with these whole aesthetics that go with them and 3D animated graphics made by professionals. Like, the evolution in the market is insane. Next method we have right here is placements. That's for sure an S tier method of making money as a producer. Like, I think this is the money-making method that every producer like wants to go for mainly, Like, if we could pick only one method from this list to make money, I think we'd all pick making money from placements as the one. Like, we all look up to guys like Metro Boomin and Southside who've built like these huge catalogs of songs, and they turned their careers into these whole businesses based off of just making beats. Now, it's super competitive, just like selling beats is. Aside from the internet, the music industry itself has like cutthroat competition, especially if you're in a major city like LA or New York, you're competing with like the big dogs out there. But you should never let that saturation deter you. I've gotten a handful of bigger placements myself, and I can definitely say the days I got those advancements from those beats were some of my biggest paydays as a producer for sure. Our next method we have right here is becoming a content creator. And I think this is an easy A tier for sure. Like, whether you like it or not, social media isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Living in the age of social media does come with some pretty amazing things. Whether you make long YouTube videos or short form content for TikTok or Instagram Reels, you have like this crazy opportunity to build this whole community around you and your career. Like, being able to create an audience on social media is a great skill that like most people just don't have. And what you decide to do with this audience and fan base you develop is completely up to you. Like, you can go the way of a big influencer like Mr. Beast and try and go all out, like grow your YouTube numbers like crazy. Or you can take a step back from that and just pursue other avenues that fascinates you. You can pivot to different things. You can start off as a producer making online tutorials And from there, the opportunities are almost endless. Like once you build an audience that's invested into you, they're gonna follow you no matter what your path is. By the way, if you've been liking this video so far, go ahead and leave a like below and subscribe to the channel. And if I missed a money-making method, go ahead and comment it below too. Let me know how you guys get in that bag. For our next money-making method, we have mixing and mastering. And this is an easy B tier for sure. Mixing and mastering is definitely a great way to make money. Like literally every single artist is gonna require the services of an audio engineer multiple times throughout their career. And that's whether they take that role on themselves or they hire somebody like you to do it for them. And you can definitely make some really good money mixing and mastering, especially if you get the right clients. But it requires a lot more of an investment from you to be able to get to that level to do that. Both like a monetary investment and a time investment to acquire the skills you actually need to do the job. Like being able to make like hard beats is one thing, but being able to consistently pump out mixes that compete with other pro level mixes is a whole nother skill set. Like for one, you're gonna need the ear for it, which is gonna take years, if not decades, to develop the critical listening skills you need to be able to mix and master efficiently. And you also just require a lot more gear and plugins to be able to do the job as well. You gotta treat your space if you wanna use your speakers. There's just a long list of things you gotta do if you wanna mix at a professional level. It's definitely similar to selling sound kits where the learning curve is a lot higher. It's just a different skill set, you know? But that being said, if you already have those skills, you're able to develop them, then you can put yourself in all kinds of room by being able to mix and master. And you can generate a lot of income too by being able to offer the service online. Next up with mixing and mastering, we got recording. And honestly, this one's gonna go in D tier. Unless you're working in like a major studio in a major city, or you're working on passion projects with your friends, like offering recording services just isn't worth it in 2023. You know, it requires a lot of the same skills as mixing and mastering. Along with that higher investment, it's an even bigger investment because unless you wanna work out of your house and invite strangers to where you live, you gotta rent a commercial facility. You know, so that's another rent. That's a lot more gear you're gonna need. You probably have to even do construction too if you wanna build a control room and, you know, do it the right way. It's just a way bigger investment. And with today's world, everybody makes music at home in their bedroom. It's not the 60s or the 70s where you need this whole production team and like all these engineers working millions of dollars worth of equipment just to be able to record a song. Nowadays, anybody can do all that in their bedroom for just a few $100s. And that's a great thing. Like that's a beautiful thing for musicians and creators all over the world. But for the recording industry, that's not such a good thing, you know, especially if you own one of those studios that's been shutting down. It's just not worth your time to try and pursue this kind of method unless you work in a major city like LA or New York, Miami, whatever. If you're in a smaller town, you're gonna be working with, you know, a lot of local bands and hobbyist musicians, and that's probably not who you're imagining that you'd be working with when you got into this game, right? They're also not gonna have really big budgets. They're gonna be very picky. It's just, yeah. Next up, we have custom beats, and this is definitely another A tier for sure. I used to sell a good amount of custom beats, and it can definitely be a really good way to make money, but it's also the most limiting. The good thing is custom beats tend to be sold for higher prices than your normal leases, if not the same price as your exclusive. So it's gonna be a higher ticket item, which is more revenue for you with less sales, which is always nice. The problem is you're at the complete creative mercy of your client. They're coming to you for a specific thing and you gotta deliver that whether you feel like making that or not. Like for me, I was known for my plug-and beat beats. So I used to get a lot of orders for custom beats like that. So it's not the funnest thing when I'm tired of making plug-and beat beats, but I have to make 3 of them today to fill this order that I got, you know? If you're stubborn creatively and you don't like being told what to create, you can put yourself in some tough spots by taking on custom orders, but the money can be worth it. And it's good to push yourself in that way, you know? If you're making just the same stuff always, it's kind of good to put those job elements into it a little bit, you know? Force yourself to work outside of your own creative box that you want and put yourself more into a client's shoes. That makes sense. Next up, we got offering video editor services. And I think this is an easy B tier for sure. Don't get me wrong, being a video editor can lead to some crazy opportunity as a producer. But just like learning your DAW, there's a big learning curve that comes to learning how to edit video as well. Especially if you're trying to do it at a professional level, like the bar is so high nowadays. However, a lot more people are getting into content creation nowadays, and the people who've been doing it for a while are still building their businesses up and growing and expanding and hiring more people to help them out. That just means there's a lot more money going into people paying for video editing services, which can put you at a good spot if you know how to do that. You know, low-key, this is like some networking sauce as a producer, you know? You can connect with a lot bigger producers if you can let them know that you can edit video well. I know a lot of guys who do the video editing for some bigger guys on YouTube, you know, some people that we work with, and just that association gets them lots of work on their own, you know? Like people will just respect them a lot more as producers because they edit the videos for these other bigger producers. You know, it's just some social proof secret sauce, you know? Next up, we got live streaming. And I think this is another solid B tier for sure. Live streaming is very similar to content creation. There's a lot of overlap in the mediums and they both require you to post on social media, but the mediums that you're doing primarily are both very different. Learning how to live stream has a learning curve that comes with it too. And that learning curve is bigger than, you know, making videos for Instagram or TikTok. It's a lot easier to use a lot of these phone apps than it is to use some of these computer programs to be able to live stream your beat making or anything like that, you know? Especially if you're on Mac, that shit can get pretty tricky. You know, I personally don't have a lot of experience live streaming. I've done it and I've actually made some of my favorite beats that went on to become bigger placements of mine. But it's a great opportunity for producers to be able to develop and connect with an audience. Just look at guys like Kenny Beats and Bishu. Look at how they're killing it, you know? And then last but almost not least, we got Fiverr and other freelance services. And this is an easy C tier for sure. I'm gonna include Fiverr and other online freelancing services together. And they're fine ways to make money, you know, but they're extremely competitive, especially Fiverr. And they're all focused very heavily around skill sets and production needs that are very common in this industry and that can be done by a large amount of people. You know, things like custom beats, mixing, mastering, generic services. These are very replicable things. Like lots of people can offer mixing and mastering services. Lots of people can offer custom beats. So at least a very cutthroat competition. And honestly, a lot of times ends up becoming a race to the bottom price-wise, you know? You know, it's literally in the name Fiverr, $5. Like you're not necessarily attracting the highest quality of clients here. Another thing that drives the prices down is there's tons of extremely talented and skilled people that live in places like outside the United States where the American dollar goes a lot farther there than it does for us. And that means that they can charge a lot less than us, but make a lot more money compared. And when you're competing with that, it's just kind of hard to not get priced out of a lot of things. This is my music producer side hustle and money-making method tier list. If there's a way to make money as a producer that I didn't know about or talk about, go ahead and leave it down below in the comments. I want to hear what you guys are doing. How are you guys earning a living as a music producer? You know, are you guys into DJing, session work? You know, I've done a lot of things as a producer, but I haven't done a lot of things in the live world. So I can't really talk on those kinds of things. So go ahead and let me know about them below in the comments.